Hey guys, Reaper here, and today I'll be bringing you 10 tips that might just save your life in hardcore WoW. Tip number one's an obvious one, but don't be scared to run. Here's a perfect example of me pulling too much too fast. This mob here runs into the room and ends up pulling the entire room. I end up having to fear, and then knowing that I needed to break line of sight because of the mage, I ran and then I went behind this wall on the right. He does end up slowing me, but just don't be scared to run. You always want to live to fight another day. Following with tip number two. Always have potions, elixirs, health stones, scrolls, etc. Especially when it comes to health stones, they are not on the same cooldown as a health potion. So yet again, I'm pulling too much too fast, and this time I decided I was going to stay and fight. I ended up going down to 14% HP, and I couldn't escape because of this heal here, and I had to use both a health stone and a healing potion, which brought me from 14% to just above 90%. Thankfully, I had 3 elixirs going, and I was able to run away successfully. I wanted to continue this clip because I also wanted to show that in hardcore, most people are willing to help. So, although I was unsuccessful at escaping initially, and I continued to pull new mobs, I knew there was a mage in the vicinity. So I wanted to show that most people are willing to help, especially knowing that it's the hardcore server. So I ran in this direction because I couldn't go up any of these hills, and I called for help. Thankfully, the mage did help. This is the only thing that kept me alive here, in addition to I made sure I had max level first aid at every step of the way. So here you'll see I gain almost 50% of my HP just off of being able to have first aid. Tip number 3. Elites are very strong and powerful enemies in World of Warcraft. In Classic, there is no threshold on what an elite scales for. This means you never truly know how strong the elite is, and it could potentially cost you everything. Always be cautious and group up if you know that you'll be facing elites in the future. Tip number 4, and this is also my favorite tip, the bank ult. Once you hit level 15, you need to create an additional character that essentially holds all your valuable items. This is hardcore classic WoW, guys. This has saved me countless times, and again, it can also save you if you ever die. Let's be honest, I don't think very many of us are going to make it to level 60 on our first attempt. This at least ensures that you have an eternal bank, and you need to have a set number of gold in your head that you're willing to die with. Any additional you need to mail off, which between characters is instant if it's on your own Battle.net account. Tip number 5 is more class specific, but even at level 40 you can see that I've saved about 10 goals on spells that I will not yet use. This has allowed me to get my mount at level 40 and so many other things, which at this level you really want to make sure that you're making your gold as efficient as possible. Sometimes I would prefer better gear than spells. Tip number 6, and this I can't stress enough, guys, if you see somebody that's in the same area, they're probably on the same quest, just group up with them. It could be a solo quest, and you might get a little bit less experience, but it's not the end of the world. You would rather do a quest twice as fast and twice as safe than to do it by yourself and have the possibility of dying. Remember, quest XP is still the same afterwards. Tip number 7. Don't stress over your profession's early game, or even if it's one of your first few characters. Remember, this is hardcore, you're more than likely going to die at least once, twice, maybe even 3 times. The one that you do want to focus on is first aid. As you can see here, I'm on the Zeppelin and I'm really trying to level it up as max efficiency. I may have War Chief's Blessing here, which gives me 300 extra HP, but the pattern I'm trying to learn will actually give me about 75% of my health. This is going to go into our next tip, tip 8. As we get off the Zeppelin, there's fall damage, right? So the higher you fall, the more damage you take. It's sad that I even have to put this as a tip, but you'd be surprised on how many people die because they fall from too great of heights. The only exception of fall damage is if you're falling in enough water that you can swim in. That'll negate all fall damage. Speaking of water, this will get us to tip 9, drowning. Another silly tip, but it's sad to say that between falling and drowning, this is about 20% of people's deaths in hardcore WoW at the moment. When you go under the water, you have what's called a breath bar. If that breath bar goes to 0, you will then take continuous damage until one of the following happen. Either you're able to get back to air or you take too much damage and you die. There are potions and there are also spells in the game that will allow you to breathe underwater, but most importantly, just watch your breath bar and get to safety. Last tip is remember guys, this is Hardcore Classic WoW. Take it slow, have fun, and enjoy it. This game's been out for a while now, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this just as much as I have. I wanted to add a festive tip into here. Go into anybody under the mistletoe, do /kiss, and we'll give you 5 items that you can use on your teammates as a spirit buff. This will go away shortly after the new year. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great day.